My name is Michael Reynolds. I'm 32 years old. The back door of my mother-in-law's house swung open. Ryan, my best friend since freshman year, my business partner, and the man I trusted most in this world, stepped into the living room carrying my 4-year-old son, Ethan, in his arms. 25 family members sat in a tense semicircle, their eyes locked on me. The air was thick with shock and anticipation. Ryan looked me dead in the eyes, his lips curving into a cold, satisfied smile, and said the words that shattered everything I believed. "Thank you for raising him for the past 4 years, Mike." The silence that followed was deafening. My wife, Emma's face drained of all color. My mother-in-law, Patricia, looked like she'd been struck. Ethan, still sleepy and confused, rubbed his eyes and whispered, "Daddy," but his little arms were wrapped tightly around Ryan's neck. In that single moment, my entire life, my marriage, my family, my friendship collapsed around me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to just a few hours earlier on that ordinary Tuesday afternoon. The call came at 4:37 p.m. while I was wrapping up a strategy session in my home office. Golden afternoon light filtered through the blinds, casting warm stripes across the oak desk Emma had helped me pick out 6 years ago. After 2 tough years, the agency was finally turning the corner. I felt exhausted, but genuinely hopeful. My phone lit up with Emma's name and the photo I loved most, her laughing on the beach last summer, hair-wild Ethan riding on her shoulders. "Hey babe," I answered with a smile. "You guys heading home soon?" There was a short pause. When she spoke, her voice sounded off, too flat, too careful. "Michael, Mom wants everyone over for dinner tonight. Both sides of the family. She said it's important." "Can you come early?" I leaned back in my chair. "Tonight, it's Tuesday, Em. We usually only do big family dinners on weekends. Is everything okay?" "She insisted," Emma replied. In the background, I could hear Ethan playing with his toy trucks and the faint clink of dishes. "Be here by 6, okay?" Something in her tone made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. It wasn't anger or excitement. It was controlled, almost rehearsed. "You sound strange," I said gently. "Babe, talk to me. Did something happen just... Come home by 6. I love you." She hung up before I could say anything else. I stared at the darkened screen, a knot forming in my stomach. Emma and I had been together since college. We fought through infertility, built this business together, and finally had Ethan after years of trying. She wasn't the type to spring surprise family gatherings on a random Tuesday without explanation. I tried to shake it off. Maybe Patricia was feeling lonely, or they were planning something for Ethan's birthday early. Still, the uneasy feeling wouldn't leave me. My mind drifted to Ryan, my best friend since we were 18, my best man, and now my operations manager with equity in the company. He'd been Uncle Ryan to Ethan since day one. The guy who always showed up, family. I grabbed my keys, stopped by the store to pick up Patricia's favorite Cabernet, and headed out. The late spring air smelled of fresh-cut grass and lilacs. By 5:50 p.m., I pulled into Patricia's long driveway in suburban Chicago. Almost every car was already there, including Ryan's black Jeep. I took a deep breath, picked up the wine, and walked up the familiar brick path. I expected the usual chaos: kids, running laughter, overlapping conversations. Instead, the moment I opened the front door, the entire house fell dead silent. 25 faces turned towards me at once, The living room had been completely rearranged. Dining chairs and folding seats formed a perfect semicircle facing the center like a courtroom. Emma's family sat on one side, my parents and relatives on the other. Patricia sat in the largest armchair like a judge presiding over a trial. Emma stood up slowly. Her eyes were red and swollen. In her trembling hands was a plain white envelope. "Hey." I forced a smile, closing the door behind me. "What's going on? Did someone die?" No one smiled. No one even blinked. Emma walked toward me slowly, like each step hurt. Her eyes were puffy, her hands shaking as she held out the white envelope. "Open it, Michael," she whispered, her voice cracking. I took the envelope. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I tore it open and pulled out the single sheet. Apex Diagnostics. Paternity Test Report. Child Ethan Michael Reynolds. Alleged. Father Michael James Reynolds. Probability of paternity 0%. The paper trembled in my hands. The room seemed to tilt. "What the hell is this?" I asked, my voice rough. Emma wouldn't look at me. "You know what it is." Patricia rose from her chair, her voice sharp and cold. "You've been cheating on my daughter for years, Michael. You brought another woman's child into this family and lied to every single one of us." The room exploded. "You bastard," Emma's brother Mark shouted. "How could you do this to her?" Her sister Lauren hissed. My own mother stared at her lap, twisting a tissue in silence. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. The betrayal in their faces cut deeper than any shout. I stood in the center of that semicircle, completely alone. "Emma," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady, "I have never cheated on you. Not once. This test has to be wrong." She finally looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "It's from a certified lab, Michael. Ryan showed us the messages, the hotel receipts, the deleted texts. What am I supposed to believe, Ryan?" The name hit me like a punch to the gut. "What messages?" I demanded. "I didn't send anything." "This is insane." Lauren held up her phone, scrolling through screenshots. "Don't play dumb. We saw everything." My stomach dropped. The chairs arranged like a courtroom. Everyone already seated before I arrived. The coordinated silence. This wasn't a family dinner. This was a planned execution. Ethan, who had been sitting on Patricia's lap, now looked terrified. He reached out his small arms toward me. "Daddy." I stepped forward instinctively, but Patricia pulled him back sharply. "Don't you touch that boy. He's not yours." Those words sliced through me, worse than the test results. I looked at Emma, the woman who had cried with me through every round of IVF, who had held my hand when Ethan was born, screaming at 3 a.m. "Look at our son, Emma. He has my laugh, my nose. You really believe I would throw away everything we built together?" She shook her head, slowly broken. "The test doesn't lie, Michael." The shouting grew louder. "Divorce police, get out." I was drowning in the middle of the storm when the back door to the patio creaked open. Ryan stepped into the living room, carrying Ethan in his arms. My 4-year-old son was half asleep, his head resting on Ryan's shoulder, still in the same dinosaur t-shirt he'd been wearing that morning. The cool evening breeze followed Ryan through the open patio door. He looked straight at me. No guilt, only cold, satisfied triumph in his eyes. "Thank you for raising him for the past 4 years, Mike." The words landed like a hammer. For a second, no one moved. No one breathed. Then Emma's voice broke the silence, high, shaky, disbelieving. Ryan, what are you saying? Ryan adjusted Ethan in his arms, his voice calm and matter-of-fact, like he was discussing quarterly numbers in a meeting. I'm saying Ethan is my son. Emma and I, we've been together for almost 5 years now. He glanced at her, his expression softening just a little. The test was right. He's mine. Mike's just been the stand-in. Chaos erupted. What the fuck? Emma's brother Mark lunged forward but was held back by two cousins. Patricia's hand flew to her mouth. Ryan, you told us Michael was the cheater. You showed us the messages. You said you were helping us? Ryan shrugged, still holding my son. I needed all of you on my side. Fastest way to get custody without dragging this through court for years. Mike's been a good provider, I'll give him that. But blood is blood. Emma looked like she'd been slapped across the face. Her legs nearly gave out. You used me, she whispered. You told me Michael was hiding things. You spent months planting doubts. You said you were my friend. I am your friend. Ryan replied, his tone almost gentle as he looked at her. We fell in love, Emma. You know that. This whole setup was supposed to make things clean and quick. I felt the floor disappear beneath my feet. This wasn't just betrayal. This was my best friend, the man I gave equity in my company, to the man who stood beside me at my wedding. The man Ethan called Uncle Ryan, stabbing me in the back and smiling while he twisted the knife. Give me my son. I said, my voice low and dangerous. I stepped forward. Ryan's grip tightened on Ethan. He's not yours, Mike. Ethan stirred, confused by the shouting. He looked at me with sleepy eyes and whispered again, Daddy? That small voice broke something inside me. I took another step. Hand him over. Now? That was when my phone started ringing. Then Emma's. Then Patricia's. Almost every phone in the room lit up at the same time. I answered on speaker, my eyes never leaving Ryan. This is Dr. Rachel Morgan from Apex Diagnostics. A calm professional woman's voice came through the speaker. Am I speaking with Michael Reynolds? Yes. You're on speaker. The whole family is here. Dr. Morgan exhaled, sounding genuinely troubled. Mr. Reynolds, I'm very sorry to call under these circumstances. We discovered a critical error during an emergency audit this afternoon. 2 DNA samples in the same batch were transposed. The report you received this evening, the one showing 0% probability, is invalid. The room went deathly quiet. Ryan laughed, but it sounded forced. This is bullshit. Convenient timing, don't you think? Dr. Morgan continued, firmly ignoring him. We've already initiated a full retest with fresh samples collected under proper chain of custody earlier this evening. Preliminary results show a 99.99% probability that Michael Reynolds is the biological father of Ethan Michael Reynolds. I've emailed the official corrected report to everyone who received the original one. It should be in your inboxes right now. She paused, then added with clear regret, what happened tonight should never have occurred. On behalf of Apex Diagnostics, I sincerely apologize. We will be facing serious internal consequences. If any of you need further clarification, please contact our legal team tomorrow. The call ended. For the first time, Ryan's mask cracked. Sweat glistened on his forehead. His arms loosened slightly around Ethan. I stepped forward and spoke with ice in my voice. Now give me my son. Ryan hesitated, eyes darting around the room. Every face that had looked at me with disgust just minutes ago now turned toward him with dawning horror and rage. He swallowed hard, then slowly handed Ethan over. I pulled my boy tight against my chest, breathing in his familiar scent, baby shampoo, apple juice, and that faint smell of grass from playing outside. Ethan clung to me immediately, burying his face in my neck and starting to cry softly. "Shh, buddy. Daddy's here," I whispered, rubbing his back. Emma stared at Ryan like she was seeing him for the first time. "You manipulated me." Her voice rose, shaking with fury and betrayal. "You spent months feeding me lies. You made me doubt my own husband. You turned my entire family against him. For what? So you could steal my son?" Ryan backed toward the patio door, hands raised. "Emma, we can still figure this out. What we had was real. Get out." I cut him off, cold and final. "Right now. Before I do something I won't regret." Mark, Emma's brother, looked ready to throw a punch. Patricia had sunk back into her chair, looking pale and 10 years older. Ryan didn't argue anymore. He slipped out the back door without another word. The sound of his Jeep starting up and driving away was the only noise in the heavy silence. A few minutes later, several phones pinged at once. The new report had arrived. I didn't need to read it. I already knew the truth the moment Ethan wrapped his little arms around my neck. I held Ethan tightly and walked out of that house without looking back. The cool Chicago night air felt like a blessing on my face. My son had cried himself to sleep on my shoulder, his small arms still wrapped around my neck like he was afraid I would disappear. I drove home in silence, the new DNA report glowing on my phone screen. When we got home, I changed Ethan into his dinosaur pajamas, tucked his favorite stuffed lion beside him, and sat on the edge of his bed for a long time, just watching him breathe. Emma came home around midnight. She stopped in the doorway of Ethan's room, eyes, swollen voice, barely above a whisper. "Michael, I don't expect you to forgive me tonight, or even this month." I finally turned to look at her. The anger I had been holding back all evening rose in my chest. "You didn't just doubt me, Emma. You let them put me on trial in front of our son. You let your mother tell me he wasn't mine. In front of the entire family." She stepped inside slowly, tears falling again. I was terrified. The test looked real. Ryan spent months whispering doubts into my head, little things that made me question everything. I thought I was protecting Ethan, but I ended up destroying us. I failed you. I failed our marriage. We talked until sunrise. Not to fix everything, but to lay all the broken pieces on the table. She admitted she had been emotionally leaning on Ryan for over a year, never physical until recently, but the emotional affair had been deep. She had chosen proof over trust in the man who had stood by her through infertility and years of building a life together. The next morning she came to me alone. No mother, no sister, no audience. "I started therapy today," she said quietly at our kitchen table. "Individual sessions and couples counseling, if you're willing. I know I don't deserve your trust right now, but I'm ready to do whatever it takes to earn it back, even if it takes years." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. Healing took time, many hard months. I dissolved the business partnership with Ryan the following week. I bought him out and made sure he was completely removed from our lives. Patricia eventually came to apologize, but I set a clear boundary. She would not be alone with Ethan until she had done her own work and proven she could respect our family. The trust she broke would take the longest to rebuild. Emma and I kept going to counseling. We learned to talk instead of assume, to choose trust even when fear tried to creep back in. Some days were still incredibly hard. There were nights I slept in the guest room. There were fights where old wounds were reopened. But slowly we started finding our way again. Tonight, as I sit here telling you this story, Ethan is laughing in the backyard, kicking his soccer ball. Emma is in the kitchen making dinner. The scars are still there. They probably always will be. But they remind us how close we came to losing everything, and how we chose to fight for it instead of walking away. Here's what I learned through all of this. Real trust isn't loud promises. It's choosing to believe in someone even when the evidence says otherwise. Family isn't perfect. It's the people willing to own their mistakes and do the painful work to make it right. If you're watching this and you're going through betrayal doubt or a broken relationship right now, don't let fear make your decisions for you. Ask the hard questions. Demand the truth. And never forget that even after the darkest nights, healing is still possible if both people are willing to fight for it. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm Michael Reynolds, still here, still fighting for my family. If this meant something to you, drop a like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. What would you have done in my place that night?